Hey there, Maple Nuts. Today I got you a video that I've been wanting to post for the longest. And this is literally the fourth time that I record this video. Last time I forgot to push the button on the microphone, no volume. It was 49 minutes of just me doing this and not talking. All right. So, anyways, I got that fixed. Let's talk about fertilizer, right? So, I want to clear out a couple of things out there that it's believed, especially by the organic community, that, that there are some things that need to be clear, all right? Because I'm not making video towards any specific community, but to the general community, all right? So I have been getting well educated about fertilizers, and what I have here for you, I believe that it is correct and as accurate as I can. And I'm about to upload all this information on you guys. All right. So, okay. So first of all, why do we fertilize? We fertilize. We have to fertilize. There have to be some sort of nutrient in the soil, right? For trees that are in the ground, all right, and depending on the type of soil that you have, because if you have a very sandy soil there, you're not getting any nutrients there, then your trees are not going to look as good. They're not going to grow as good, and you're going to have to add those nutrients that are lacking in your soil. But when you have a nice soil, something that you got some aggregation going on, then most likely you really do not need to fertilize, because nitrogen is already in the ground, right? Even if it's slowly feeding your trees. Now, if you have trees in pots, you have to feed them, all right? There's a lot of people say don't feed your trees. They're not required. You're not required to feed your trees. That's wrong. You have to feed your trees. If not, they're just not going to grow well. Okay? Nitrogen is necessary for plant growth. And nitrogen is just as important as all the elements that it needs, all right? Plant generally needs there are about 21 elements that the plant needs. Some of them are macronutrients and some of them are micronutrients. They are all important to the plant. Okay. The fertility in the ground is just not the same in pots. And this is why you have to feed your soil. All right. You're not feeding your plants, you're feeding your soil. We'll get back to that very shortly. All right. First of all, let's talk about the difference between synthetic and organic. Synthetic does not provide any soil aggregation. And we're also going to have to put a pin on that. Let's talk about that later. Organic does contribute to soil aggregation, and that is because organic fertilizer contains organic material, versus synthetic, it doesn't contain any organic material. Now, there are organic fertilizers that do not contain any organic material, such as liquid organic fertilizers, such as a fish emulsion, right? Fish emulsion is an organic fertilizer that contains absolutely no organic material. Therefore, it does not contribute towards soil aggregation. The second difference between synthetic and organic is that this product right here is immediately available to the plant. If I were to apply this product right here in one of my potted plants in the morning, by the afternoon, your plant is already taking benefits from this product, versus an organic product that first have to decompose in order to provide the nutrients to your plant. Therefore, they both are good materials, but they're kind of different, and you can use immediately available and available throughout time. You can use that to your advantage. Third, availability without phosphorus. Guys, let me tell you, excess of phosphorus is real. It's a real thing in the garden community, in the lawn community. It is something that it needs to be addressed. Phosphorus, like every other element, when there's an excess of it, it can become toxic to the plant. Large amounts of phosphorus will inhibit the plant from absorbing iron or manganese. And that's why they turn a little yellow. I have in the past over applied phosphorus on my lawn because I was one of those that would throw bags of malorganite on my lawn and wonder why does my lawn had patches of yellow color. And that was why. Now, going back to phosphorus, it is easier for you to find a product without phosphorus from a synthetic fertilizer than an organic. In a synthetic fertilizer, a lab can manipulate the product to contain the elements or the nutrients that the consumer needs. For example, this is a product that contains phosphorus. If I wanted a product that does not contain phosphorus, I could easily find another synthetic product without phosphorus versus an organic material. It is very hard to find. Now, I did find one that claimed that is low phosphorus, but at the same time, the numbers were 604, which according to the numbers contains no phosphorus, even though it states that it's a low phosphorus fertilizer. So I'm kind of like, I don't know what's happening there. All right. The name of the fertilizer is Microbe Organics, and it's a 604 for a 50-pound bag, $36.90. The price for this product, awesome. If I could get my hands to it, I could most definitely order some of these and apply my Japanese maples once or twice a year. No problem. All right. The problem comes that to ship one bag of Magiri Organics to your home, at least here to my home in North Carolina, costs $95.17 through FedEx, which brings the amount at $132.07. My friends, I am not going to do that. That doesn't make any financial sense. Therefore, I'll stick with my synthetics, right? This is not the only product that I use, all right? For example, I have products here for my lawn. It's called Green Charge from Next. It's a Green County fertilizer, right? By the way, Next products are the only thing that I use in my lawn, and I'll show you pictures of it. Great. This is a fertilizer, 2600, contains 26% of this bottle is nitrogen, 0% of P2O5 or phosphate nitrate, I believe that's a product, and 0% of potash. So easy, cheap, 20 something dollars, maybe 30 something at the most for this bottle that lasts me the whole season plus most likely the next one. All right. I feed my lawn monthly. All right. I try to feed it monthly. Sometimes I forget and I'll just, skip a month or whatever. It's okay. So there it is, this product. The next product right here, 1801 Green Punch. I have used this product on more lawns than anything else. This product is just magic. By the way, they both contain not only macronutrients like nitrogen, and this one contains nitrogen and potassium, but it also contains minor nutrients, which are also essential for soil health. And if I want to add some potassium, 0025 green cake. All right. Now, I don't use these products on my Japanese maples. I use it on my lawn. I could use a little bit of potassium on my Japanese maples. No problem. Just squirt a little bit in a 2-gallon jug that I got right there and keep going, right? I have used 2 products from the next level fertilizer, and that is RGS, which is a root growth stimulant. If you want a healthy tree, you need roots for that. And this product works. I don't use a whole lot of this product. I just squirt it very little bit, and that's it, really. I don't want to apply too much. Same with microgreen, except for I use it once a year. Early spring, squirt it a little bit in a 2-gallon jug, put it in the pot, all right, or just water your tree with the nutrients, and that's it. You do not want to over apply this product. These are micronutrients that you're adding to the soil, and if you exceed the amount, you're probably going to have some problems. I probably do not recommend this to any gardener that are just getting started. Anyways, I wanted to prove you guys that it is easier to find a synthetic fertilizer without phosphorus than an organic. Another difference between an organic and a synthetic fertilizer is because since synthetic fertilizer is immediately available to the plant, you can really do some serious damage. And it is not because the product is toxic or is bad for soil biology. It's none of that stuff. It's because it's immediately available. And if you over apply, like everything else, everything in excess is bad. Hell, you can kill yourself by drinking an excess of water. And water is necessary for your body. Now, in order for you to know what do you need in your soil, right? Most likely you need a soil test for that. Now, do you really need a soil test for your Japanese maples, for your conifers, for your plants and all that stuff? You really don't. Generally, you can feed your plants at a ratio of 3:1:2. For every percent of phosphorus, there needs to be a 3% of nitrogen and a 2% of potash. But always go with a low number, and you will be fine. For me, in the other hand, I like to take things to the next level. So I do my soil tests. I do 2 soil tests on my lawn every year, which is way too much. You don't need that. But I really do like to know where my nutrients are sitting with my lawn. Here is my results right here. And when you do a soil test, I will do a soil test on my soil, the one that I make from scratch, fine pine bark mulch, peat moss, and perlite. I will do a soil test of one of those soils without ever touching any nutrients. And then I'm going to do a soil test of one of my oldest trees that I got here, the ones that were treated or were fed with organic fertilizer, synthetic fertilizer, RGS, and microgreen. And I'm going to do a soil test on that to see where everything is sitting. But in reality, you do not need a soil test. Regardless of the results of your soil test, you are going to get a recommendation from your extension or the lab that is doing your soil test. And they're going to recommend you to feed your plants at a rate of 3:1:2. Because generally, that's what plants like to be fed, all right? For every percent of phosphorus, 3% of nitrogen, and 2% of potassium. There's a reason why they're recommending that. The movement of those of the nutrients containing in fertilizer, the way that they work their way down into the root system is different. For example, let's take 3, nitrogen. Nitrogen is a very unstable element and will leach through the soil really fast. It is the most used element or the most used nutrient in fertilizer, and it is the most that is lacking in your soil. And that is why it's sitting at 3. 1, for phosphorus. Phosphorus tends to hang around in the top layer of soil. And depending on the type of soil that you have, phosphorus can move at a rate of 1/4 of an inch per year. And it takes years for that phosphorus to even reach the root system. Potassium is a faster moving element, slower than nitrogen, but faster than phosphorus. And that is why it's sitting at number 2. If you feed your soil with a balanced fertilizer, a 10-10-10, that or 12-12-12 or whatever it is, right? If you keep feeding your plants with that type of fertilizer, eventually you are going to reach high levels of phosphorus because you are applying way too much of it. In the ground, you probably don't even need phosphorus. Phosphorus is already available in the ground. So in reality, you really do not need that element. Now, the element is important to the plants, like every other element, but in excess, it can tie up other nutrients and make those nutrients unavailable to the actual plant. Like I previously stated in this video, when you have an excess of phosphorus, it ties iron and manganese, and you're gonna start seeing a yellowish on the leaf. You're gonna start seeing an all healthy plant. The same is when potassium. When you apply too much potassium, you are going to create a lack of other nutrients. And there is really no way for you to tell what is wrong with your plant with the eye by looking at the tissue of the plant. The only way would be through a lab, and you don't want to do that. What I recommend you to do, if you start seeing a decay in your plant, is take your plant out of the pot. If you can replace the soil, replace it. If not, it's okay. All right? Take it away from the sun, put it in a shaded area, water it only, and stop applying nutrients. If the damage wasn't bad enough, the plant will bounce back. If the plant damage was way too much, the plant is going to die. Compost. Compost is a wonderful source of nutrient. It is very, very slow feed. The compost, while it looks like it's done, when you look at it, you put it in your hand, it looks like it's completely finished. But it's not really finished. It still got more to decompose. Compost will last up to 5 years to fully decompose and slowly release all those nutrients. However, when you over apply compost, it would be like applying a balanced fertilizer. Compost is a 1-1-1. And if you keep applying compost over and over and over and over again, eventually you will also reach high levels of phosphorus, and that will be detrimental to your plant. Now let's talk about soil aggregation. Previously, I stated that synthetic fertilizer does not provide any soil aggregation, and that organic fertilizer does provide soil aggregation. However, it makes more sense to use organic materials or organic products on trees that are on the ground. And I'm going to tell you why. To have soil aggregation, you need three elements, and that is sand, silt, and clay. And do you guys know what that is? Sand, silt, and clay? That is soil. Soil is composed of sand, silt, and clay. And when you add organic material, it forms soil aggregation. However, if you have plants in pots with a soil-less mix, like the one that I use and the one that most people are using right now for their Japanese maples and conifers, you cannot have any soil aggregation. Therefore, using organic material doesn't make sense for that one purpose. If you need to know what is soil aggregation, let me tell you, under South Dakota State University, it defines that soil aggregation is an arrangement of primary soil particles such as sand, silt, and clay around soil organic material and through particles association. Aggregate stability is a good indication of good soil health. What is soil aggregates? Well, soil aggregates are the soil particles, sand, silt, and clay, that are bonded together by roots, which is organic material, fungi hyphae, which is organic material, and organic compounds from bacteria and fungi. Small aggregates, however, the ones that are very tiny, 0.5 millimeters, 1 millimeter, stuff like that, that is different. Small aggregates are held together by clay, iron, and aluminum oxides. Okay? You cannot have any soil aggregation in a soil-less mix, because that soil-less mix most likely is already 90 to 95% organic material. Let's talk about fertilizer myth. I love this topic. This topic is very controversial, right? We got the organic folks, the synthetic folks, and they all fight together. But somehow, I don't see a lot of synthetic people trash talking the organic people, but I see a lot of the organic people just, oh no, this is hard salts and stuff like that. But let me tell you something, all right? The word salt, when we hear the word salt, we immediately think about table salt, and that is sodium chloride. And yes, that is poisonous to your plant. However, that is not what any of these fertilizers contain. They do contain salts. But first of all, you need to understand what salts are to a chemist, to a scientist. Salt is the compound of an element. For example, potassium chloride is a salt, ammonium nitrate is a salt, calcium nitrate is a salt. NO3 or nitrate is a salt. Therefore, under that definition, both of them contains salts because both of them contains nitrogen. They both contain iron and calcium and all that stuff, right? Generally, fertilizers contain those materials. They both contain salts. Synthetics kills microbes. They don't kill microbes, they feed them, all right? What you need to understand is that every time that you are feeding your plants, you are not really feeding your plants. What you are feeding are the microbes inside the soil. The molecules on the nitrogen on both of these fertilizers are too large of a molecule for the root system to absorb. This is where the microbiology comes into play. They devour that nitrogen and turn it into a smaller molecule named nitrite, NO3, and ammonium, NH4. Generally, plants love NO3, and trees and shrubs, they like more ammonium. Now, let me show you something real quick. Here we have the molecule for NO3. One comes from synthetic fertilizer and the other from organic. Do you see any difference? There isn't any. Meaning that the end product on all the elements on these two fertilizers, the product that actually goes through the root system, is the same. NO3 is NO3 regardless of where it comes from. The point that I'm trying to make here is that synthetic fertilizers are not bad. Organic fertilizers are good for it's a good fertilizer. It's not a bad fertilizer either, right? They're both good and they both can coexist in your garden. One is slow release, the other is immediately available. Use that to your advantage. What I suggest you do is use both of them. Why not? This is less expensive. I'll tell you that. All right. Synthetics tends to be less expensive than organic. So for that one reason, and me knowing that I'm not doing any harm to my plants by applying synthetic fertilizers, I will never stop using synthetic fertilizer. Again, this is a synthetic fertilizer. This is a synthetic fertilizer. That's a synthetic fertilizer. And this is a synthetic fertilizer. It is all I use for my lawn. And you guys have seen the pictures of them, the proof. If these fertilizers were poison, my lawn would have been dead because I keep using this fertilizer year after year after year. I have been using this since 2018. And not one time I have seen any damage on my lawn. I don't use any organic fertilizer anymore. I used to use it, but I cannot find it without phosphorus. I don't want to throw phosphorus on my soil. I know my soil contains it naturally. But what I need is the nitrogen. What I need is the potassium, all right? Not every time I apply potassium. Most of the time, all I do is apply just the nitrogen. That's it. It contains some iron, great, because it's going to turn my lawn green, dark green. And I like that, all right? So my point here is that you can use both fertilizer. I can run a full program with Miracle-Gro or with synthetic, no problem. And I could run a full program with organics, no problem. You can use both of them. What you guys need to do is you guys need to be smart about feeding your trees. Japanese maple don't like to be pushed too much, but you can push them. You can push some growth. Early in the spring, mid-spring, push your tree to grow. Just push it, because by the time that winter arrives, or by the time that your tree is ready to go back to dormant, that new growth is going to be hard enough to survive. Now, what you don't want to do is push your trees too hard late summer, early fall. Definitely, you don't want to push your tree at all late fall. Don't push your trees, just let them go dormant, all right? That is my recommendation. I do not add any nitrogen in the soil throughout winter at all. I know there are people out there that say feeds early spring, late winter. I don't like feeding late winter. That's just me. It's my preference. You do whatever works for you. Now, this recommendation also is for people that are in the transition zone. I don't know the weather. How's the weather like in North Dakota or Detroit or New York? I don't know that stuff, all right? I know the transition zone, area 8, area 7B, area 9. Those are transition zones, 8 alpha, 8 bravo. And there, I can tell you that your first feeding should be May 1st, maybe late April, you know? Okay? And just push, give it some push. Just go ahead and push your trees. All right? Guys, you may be asking, where am I getting all this information? And I'm going to tell you right now. I get most of my information from a book. I get myself educated through credible sources. I got you right here. Soil Science for Gardeners by Robert Pavlis. Guys, Robert Pavlis is a chemist. If you want to know about chemicals, ask the chemist, ask the scientist. Don't go out there asking to a garden guru about chemicals because most likely you are going to get the wrong information. Robert Pavlis is the owner of Aspen Grove Botanical Garden in Canada. It's, I believe, 6 acres, and he's growing over 3,000 varieties of plants. The guy is the godfather of gardening. And if you want to get yourself educated, I highly suggest you get this book. If you don't like reading for X or Y reason, I got it. I understand. All right. No judgment. This video is provided on Audible as well as an audiobook. I listen to this book through Audible every time I go to Mr. Maple open house, and I go every time I take long trips, I put that book and I get myself educated. I do pretty much like a refresher. I listen to that book over 6 times. No kidding. I decided to grab the book because it's quicker for me to find references through the book. As far as with the audiobook, you have to skip and search for it, and I really don't feel like it. I also got right here Garden Myth, all right, book number 1 by Robert Pavlis as well. This book right here, he has 2 books, but this book hits home for me. And I'm going to tell you some of the topics. He's talking about garden myth on composting, soil, fertilizer, mulch, trees and shrubs, houseplants, pests, disease, winter, and vegetables. If you are into Japanese maples and conifers, they are all equally important to you except for vegetables. All right, so it is why I got this book. You would be amazed of how many rumors get spread around the garden community, and they are nothing but myth. Get this book, get yourself educated, and avoid spending money on unnecessary products. This book will help you save a lot of money by not falling into the rumors that are being spread around the garden community. Most of the things that get spread around the garden community are not necessary. You don't need it. All right. So you get this book. Actually, they're what? They're like 20 on Audible. Is gonna cost you 1 point. All right, you get 1 point per month. It's gonna cost you 1 point. The Audible book. If you buy them paper copies, they are gonna run you between, I want to say, $24-$25 each. All right, it is a great investment. When you are done with both of this book, I promise you that you would be so much of a better gardener. I will be posting links down below about these 2 wonderful books. If you use the link provided down below, it will help my channel. I am fairly new to YouTube, and this right here helps me out a whole lot. Also, Robert Pavlis has a Facebook group called Garden Fundamentals. I highly suggest that you guys go ahead and join that group and get educated by the proper source and not by some garden guru out there spreading fudge about products. I hope you guys consider getting those two books, and I hope that you become a much better gardener. And I hope that I help you get more educated when it comes to using fertilizers. Well, this is the end of the video. I want to close this video with telling you that I hope that you guys are now well educated about both synthetic and organics, and that you guys understand that none of these products are bad for your plants if you use them correctly. Keep in mind that everything in excess is bad. It takes a lot more to burn a plant with this product than this product, and I understand that. However, you can definitely burn something with this product. If this product spills on my lawn, right, and I leave it there, it's going to burn it regardless. That's nitrogen. It's a lot of nitrogen there, right? So use them correctly, all right? And they are both great for your garden. Other than that, I got nothing else for you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.